Whoa! Come on, come on. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Come on. Oh! Isn't it sad how I bring a whiff of the end of the pier with me? What an amazing crowd. This is fantastic. Brassed off 21 years later at the Albert Hall. We've finally made it. It's wonderful. Yeah. Just wave your bus passes in the air if you've seen the film before. Who's seen the film? Oh, lots of you have seen the film. The rest of you haven't brought your bus passes, okay? Are you a fan of brass bands? Do you like the Grimethorpe Colliery Band? Have you ever heard of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra? Well, you're in for a great night, folks. I'm a little bit intimidated at seeing my 21 years younger self up on a 50-foot screen, I can tell you. That's a little bit nerve-wracking. But I'm not as intimidated as the band, who have got to play this thing exactly on time. I don't know how they do it. I mean, they can't, go over, else they'd be crashing into Postlethwaite, and we can't have that, can we? So they've shown Jurassic Park, they've shown Aliens, they've shown Amadeus, but this is going to be the best film and concert flumcert. It's a flumcert. It's going to be the best. Fantastic. Now, I think we've got 7 of the actors. We've got the producer and the director here tonight, and we're going to have a chat before we show the film. And so let me introduce to you the man who wrote, the man who directed the film, Mark Herman, and the producer, without whom nothing would have happened, Steve Abbott. Mark Herman and Steve Abbott. You'll know this next couple from the film and from lots of other things on TV. He played Phil, she played his wife Sandra. It's Stephen Tompkinson and Melanie Hill. This one, mate. This one, that's it.
There we are.
Now, this next actor is also very familiar to you. He played a very big brass instrument. I don't know what it was called. It's Phil Jackson and Mary Healy. And, of course, the gorgeous Gloria Mullins and Simo, the pool hustler from the pub. It's Tara Fitzgerald and Peter Gunn. Isn't it lovely? We haven't aged at all. What I should have said to you is please do remember to turn these back on at the end of the night. Just a nicer way to put it, isn't it? Here we are. We're at the Albert Hall 21 years later. Did you ever think this would happen, Mark?
I never thought this would happen. I thought this film would be of interest to about 10 people in Barnsley.
Blimey.
And I
Barnsley's empty tonight.
And I thought it might hold their interest for about 3 weeks. So to be here 21 years later with a full house is just amazing. We were just saying backstage how none of us look any different. But I think that's because of our failing eyesight. We've all still got our hair. Steve Abbott's got 4 times as much as he had 20 years ago. The film is on television quite regularly, and people do tell me when they see it on television, every time it's on, they say it's still relevant. And I think it's still relevant today. I think there are still a lot of brassed-off people around, and even with our strong and stable government.
So 21 years ago, we should have, I don't. You probably all know this, but we should have filmed the finale here in the Albert Hall. But Steve, I'll ask you about this. We didn't actually make it into the Albert Hall for the brass band finals there.
No, we got as far as the Birmingham Town Hall. There's been some dispute. Mark and I are both getting of an age and remembering why we shot in Birmingham and not here. I claim that the Albert Hall authorities then, unlike now when they're very welcoming, wouldn't let us film here. But Mark accuses me of being stingy with the budget and not letting him film here. But one way or the other, we filmed at Birmingham Town Hall with a very few extras and made it look like this, God knows how. But what's amazing, and it's a testament to his script really, is that nobody came up and said that wasn't really the Albert Hall.
Did you know that, folks? No? Oh, you'll be looking out tonight, won't you? Yeah.
My memory of it is very different. I know Steve was stingy with the money, but also I remember coming in here. We did do a recce. I came in here with the cinematographer Andy Collins, and we looked around. He went very pale at the idea of trying to light this place for the film. And I just thought it looked nothing whatsoever like the Albert Hall.
So here we are at last. We did film on the Albert Memorial outside, and we walked round to the stage door, don't we? I remember it clearly because my daughter was 2 at the time, and she came to visit. So it looked as if we were walking in here, but we were 100 miles north in Birmingham.
We went in dressing rooms as well.
Sorry?
We went into some dressing rooms downstairs and filmed a couple of scenes in the dressing rooms here, but we didn't get onto the stage.
Here we are at last. Now, the first time I heard the band was, I think, like a lot of us, at the Abbey Road studios when they were. Who was here? Were you all? So, Tara, I mean, do you remember anything about that? The effect it had on you?
Really well. It blew me away. I remember we were all very moved by it, weren't we? Yeah. And realised that plus the script was going to create potentially something, which it did, very special. Yeah. Enormous talent, and they were very welcoming. So I was incredibly nervous about their talent and about pretending to play my instrument.
But you actually played your instrument properly, didn't you? Or you gave a very good appearance of it in your solo bit.
Well, thank you for saying that, Jim. Yes. No, I really didn't play it, and my neighbours will testify to that. And the local animals running screaming for the hills. No, I put down the brass instrument after the film finished.
But the fingering was accurate, because you had to play a solo piece. The rest of us were in with the crowd. We could get away with any rubbish, you know. I mean, not me, but I remember. Is this right? The band at one point in the film, the band have to play badly, and they had incredible problems with playing badly, didn't they?
Yeah, well, they sort of refused to do it. Yeah, I think we had to pay them a bit extra for every duff note. Yeah. I mean, I remember that, the Abbey Road incident, and I remember the band being very excited about the cast coming down to join them, and they were for some reason, particularly interested in Tara coming down. And I remember this old cleaning lady, about 60, white hair. She came in with a mop and bucket, and one of the band said, "Gosh, she's gone off since Chamomile Lawn."
Oh, did you know that? Steve, were you a fan of brass music? Did you know much about brass band music before this?
I'd never been as close to it as this. And first time being in Abbey Road was they were recording Danny Boy, which I thought was maybe the most gratuitous use of Danny Boy ever used in a motion picture. Until we heard it, and none of us could quite look each other in the eye because we were all just filled up with emotion.
I know I was filming the guy who played the bloody euphonium. And he was but he wasn't doing anything. I mean, I thought there'd be bulging cheeks and his sweat and veins throbbing. I thought, no, mate, that's no good at all. You know, he was just sitting there doing nothing. I thought, no, I'm going to give a lot more than that. But and Mark, I've got to tell you one story. So when you see it later, I'm musically dyslexic, and as we were, one time we filmed up in Grimethorpe, obviously, and we took the train up to Doncaster. And one time, at Sunday service, the train took about 4.5 hours, and I didn't have a book with me, and all I had was the music with the William Tell Overture. And I couldn't get this tune at all. I just couldn't follow it. So I wrote it out longhand. Duggly Dug, Duggly Dug, 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 Dug. Duggly Dug, Duggly Dug, 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 Dug. Something coming from the left, bang, bang, bang. Something. And I got up there in front of the audience. Duggly Dug, Duggly Dug, 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 Dug. Something coming from the left and crash. It worked. They couldn't. They all took photographs because they couldn't believe this incompetent nonsense. But it got me to the end.
One of the best reviews that we received for the film said it's the first time they've ever heard that piece of music and not thought about the Lone Ranger.
So we filmed up in Grimethorpe. I mean, I think. Stephen, is that? Yes,
21 years.
21 years. Yeah, my best friend. Did you go up and do some research?
Yes, I'd very fortunate. My first ever TV series was with the amazing Mr. Postlethwaite. So when we found out we were playing father and son together, yeah. Absolutely. Pete rang me up and went, Tomo, do you fancy coming down to Grimey a bit early? Under the guise of research. And to get the accent right and to sort of mix in with the community as much as possible and convince everyone that this was going to be a true telling of their story. And we were welcomed into the Miners Club. And at one stage, Pete was asked to play on the snooker table. So we knew we were in. And Pete was a very good snooker player, and it was a fairly even-scored game. He was playing a guy much older than him who had his flat cap on, and Pete played a safety shot on the green and managed to leave the green at one end of the table and roll the white up to the other. So it was a distance of about 11.5 foot. And this old boy walked round to one end and eyed up the shot, and then he walked round to the other end and looked at it from the green ball perspective. He came back to the top and finally settled on the white to take his shot. And his mate went, I won't worry, Pete, he don't go that far on his holidays.
Peter Gunn, you played Simo. You were a pool hustler. Did you do this similar kind of research?
No. I couldn't play for toffee. I was more overarm or underarm. I didn't know what was going on. Unfortunately, I'd on the day, it was me doing that to thin air while a prop man did that with the ball. Sorry to ruin it for you.
Peter Gunn, method actor.
When I came to sign Peter's contract, the casting agents who are here this evening had put in a special stipulation that you were a consummate pool player. So that's a few quid you owe me back.
I'm so sorry.
Well, a hustler, maybe not a pool player. So, I mean, Steve talked about Pete Postlethwaite. Mark, the big presence who's not obviously with us tonight. I think Pete's family are in, Jax. The kids are in tonight, which is wonderful. And just, was there any other contender for the part?
Well, tonight is going to be an emotional night, I think, for most of us. But it's going to be made more emotional because of Pete's absence. I think there's a big hole here where Pete should be. But I think, and I'm going to offend the Postlethwaites now, I think even if he was still alive, there would probably still be a big hole here because he'd be in a pub on Kensington High Street. He'd be with the band in the Goat, calling it research. That's what you did, research, wasn't it?
Yes, research.
Yeah,
research.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I'll offend all the thespians here as well and say that, in my view, Pete was probably the best British actor of his generation. Probably longer.
Yeah, no. I don't think anyone would argue.
It's a great. I mean, I'm very grateful to have had that, just the one opportunity to work with him. It was a great honour and a great privilege and an education. This film certainly wouldn't be the same without him, much like the world isn't.
No, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. So, I mean, Grimethorpe back in we filmed it in 95, I think, and it came out in 96. And Grimethorpe back in 1995 it was a tough community, wasn't it? It was a community that had, like in the film, had its sort of heart torn out of it, really, to a large extent. I mean, with the closure of the mine. Phil, talk a bit about Grimethorpe then, but you've been back, I think, have you? Have you been back to Grimethorpe since?
I haven't actually been back to the place, actually. No, I haven't. But the MP for that area, Michael Duggar, who's actually here tonight, he's actually standing down as the MP. He invited some of us to a reception at a House of Commons about 3 years ago, I think, to celebrate the revival of Grimethorpe. And that's partly due to some industry arriving there and also a general commitment by the community to get things moving. But you're right, when we got there, it was a bit like the Wild West. Most houses I saw had like steel grills over the windows and doors because there was so much robbery going on. You know, there was guns and a lot of drugs, and
the pub where we filmed was affectionately known as the Dripping Dagger. I don't know.
Yes, it was known as the Dripping Dagger.
Anything.
And I remember we were filming round about bonfire night, and this is no disrespect, by the way, to the people of Grimethorpe. It's just they were going through some bad times. But I remember we were talking to some lads before we finished filming, and he said, "Oh, you know, you're going to do a big thing tonight, you know, for bonfire night." And this lad says, "Yeah, we're going to burn Co-op down." So, lo and behold, the next morning when we rode into town to start filming, there was a little smouldering building. Actually, it wasn't that bad, but, you know, that was the feeling. You know, there was that. It was a bit scary at first, and especially until they kind of got us, you know, until they realized we were on their side and good, you know, we're all right, you know, we're all right, oh, they're all right, you know, all right, you know, we're having a drink with them and that, you know, they're all right. So, yeah.
But the town now has revived. Employment's come back into the town,
yes,
hasn't it? And we went to a reception a few years ago at the Houses of Parliament to do with the revival
That's
of
the
it.
one I meant.
Yeah. You what?
21 years.
Yeah. So, Melanie, while we were messing about with brass instruments, you had 3 kids, love, which transgresses the first rule of acting, doesn't it?
It does. And I was upset that I never got to go to Abbey Road because obviously I missed all that. But my biggest memory is not with the kids, I've got to say, sadly, but it was hearing the band play, but in Grimethorpe. We were all sat in... it might have been the Working Men's Club, and they were all going to come in and play, and there was not a big deal made of it. And Mark knew I'd never really heard a brass band before, and he said, "Oh, you know, they're just going to play something. Do you want to listen?" And I didn't really get it or realize what I was going to experience. And these normal guys came in talking about their wives, their kids, their shopping, pulled their instruments out while chatting, and then suddenly this music hit me, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and we were just in an ordinary room, and I will never forget it because it moved me to tears. And that was my first experience of brass band music, and I've never forgotten it. And obviously that layered with the script, and you've got the amazing film that is brassed off. So
a few of the band who were in the film are here tonight. They're not playing. There's 3 or 4 tonight that we recognise from those days. But Steve, the band. committed to the film, but without really knowing what they were committing to, didn't they?
I think that's right.
And went above and beyond the call of duty in terms of because a lot of them were holding down regular jobs and coming and filming with us. Danny Boy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we were really lucky. Mark had always had in mind when he came up with the village of Grimley and the Grimley Colliery band that it was a generic South Yorkshire band that Grimethorpe would have always been ideal, I think, for the film he wanted to make. And it was just a chance connection that we hooked up with them through my friend Liz Reimer. And we got them on board at a very early stage, which meant, as we were talking about earlier, that we could pre-record and have everything to film to.
Yeah, we thought we'd get maybe 4 or 5 of Grimethorpe band, but then we got the whole band. It was amazing. I mean, people think that we chose Grimethorpe because that's where we chose to film. And I did choose Grimethorpe because of the way the place looked. It was just coincidental that that's where the best band in the world is based.
Mark making sure he's always welcome in Grimethorpe. I've got some questions here. I don't know if they're from... I was handed a printed sheet of questions. I don't know if they're from people who are here tonight or from Facebook or something. Oh, no, love. Which is your favourite song? This is from Jess Clift. Is Jess Clift here tonight? Fast asleep. Right. Which was your favourite song to perform, or your favourite song in the film, favourite tune in the film? Anybody got a favourite here?
Orange Juice.
Orange Juice, of course, starring Tara Fitzgerald.
The Florentina March that we played in the semi-final at the Peace Hall, Halifax.
Oh, yeah, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah. What did we play in Saddleworth when we were drunk? When the characters were drunk?
We can't remember.
That was the Cobbler's March. And that's the day, again, I don't want to offend the Postlethwaites, and I don't want to make it seem, I don't want to mislead people to thinking that Pete was a drinker. But that scene, when I look at that scene, I'm always amazed because, spoiler alert, the band get drunk on that scene, and it's all you lot being very professional, very sober, acting drunk. Pete Postlethwaite playing Danny, looking very disapproving. But pissed out.
It's research.
Here's one from Aaron Manning. Are you here, Aaron, or did this come in by Facebook or something? This film came out the year I left school. Oh, he's probably back home in bed then, isn't he? Came out the year I left school, and after the first time I watched it, it managed to hit every emotion in me and still does to this day. Was it an emotional day in, day out while filming it? What would you say? Mary, did you find it emotional?
Emotional? Well, the very first day, Mark said, I want everybody in the rehearsal room with the band to listen to the music, even the women. So we went along, and like Melanie said, and from the moment they started playing, we were crying buckets. It was wonderful. There's something about brass instruments, I think, that touch the nerve, you know.
It was also the thing about sort of, you know, the picket line and being scabs and who was going to go back. I mean, that was because a lot of the extras there were local people who sort of lived through this situation where they were offered redundancy money. Would they take the redundancy money or would they fight on? And that was... we were honour bound to tell this story properly, I think, because it had a big impact locally, and I think we all felt that as we got to know people locally, that we had to tell it properly and with the dignity that the story, demanded, and I think that it felt. It was worthy of that respect, wasn't it? And they were worthy of that respect.
A lot of laughter.
Oh, of course, Melanie. Yeah, a lot of laughs.
A lot of laughs.
Have any of you continued your interest in brass band music, or did it continue? Stephen, didn't you brass band? Didn't you play it at? A funeral or something?
When my dad passed away, yeah, we had one of the recordings played because he was there for that day's filming with my mum, who's no longer with us. It's a cheery story, this, isn't it? But they were both there for that recording in Halifax, so we played it for Dad, and I'm still in touch with the band, and I was up with them in January, seeing how they were shaping up for this. So it was fantastic. Yeah. And I was very sad to hear that a few years ago they were in danger of closing. And I would love there to be a Royal Society for the protection of brass bands. Because they obviously rely so heavily on sponsorship, and to have that royal safety umbrella for something so uniquely British that still represents the areas where the collieries used to be is essential.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're building this. They're all sitting back there nervous as kittens, saying, God, they're building us up, aren't they? Oh, we'll have to be good. The film obviously commands a lot of affection. I mean, would it get made today, Mark, this film?
I doubt it very much. I find it, the kind of films I make are sort of mid-budget. They don't seem to be made anymore. It's either blockbusters or micro-budget. I think politically it might be quite difficult to make this film. I mean, it's odd that we're doing this tonight shortly before an election, because the film was released shortly before an election. And that was a Labour landslide, which goes to show how long 21 years feels.
Films don't get as long a run in the cinema now as this did. This became such a sort of people's film. We had to go to Leeds to stop them showing it because it was going to clash with the release of the video. That's how old it was.
It was a real word of mouth film, because the first weekend was poor, wasn't it? And it suddenly built during that week. You suddenly realised in midweek more people were going to see it than they went to the weekend, and that just snowballed for several weeks. And I mean, in Yorkshire, it went on for a year, didn't it? Yeah. And 21 years later.
21 years later, here you all are. Yeah. Thank you very much indeed. Well, I think we should sort of think about wrapping this up, unless anyone's got something. Peter Gunn, you've got something startling to tell us now, have you?
No. I was only there for 2 days.
Very telling.
Great time.
Telling.
Can't remember anything.
I want to thank you all for coming, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the film. It's going to be an amazing experience. I mean, just shout out, have you been to one of these filmed and live concert things before here? So a lot of people said yes, and a lot of people shook their heads. So that's well. I can't wait to sort of see it, because it's going to be a new experience for me, and I'm thrilled to be watching it.
First British film.
Is it the first British film? Whoa, yes, first British film. That's it.
Oh. And it's Northern.
Yeah. Like what we are pretending to be.
What? Speak for yourself.
So I think we want to thank, obviously we want to thank Pete Postlethwaite, and we're going to dedicate tonight to Pete. But Steve Abbott, you've got a few thank yous to say as well, I think.
Yes, I have indeed. Thank you all for coming. But this evening just came out of an idea that my friend Robert Libson had 2 years ago now. And he's the reason that this took place. He introduced me to Lucy Noble, and we started talking about making this evening happen over a year ago. And unlike the management of the Albert Hall, when they wouldn't let us film here, Lucy and her team have been fantastic throughout, and I want to thank them. And my first port of call when we really started talking about doing it was to get a print made that the musicians could sync their playing to. So I contacted Film 4, and Kate Robinson and her team there have been fantastic and supportive throughout. But the real hero, we're all enjoying this reunion, but the real hero behind the stage is Tommy Pearson, because he's been working tirelessly on the music scores and pieces and making sure the rehearsals and all that side that we don't know anything about take place. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I think we all are. I'd like to thank you all for coming. I'd like to thank Big Jim for hosting us, and enjoy the music, because it's music that matters.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Healy, Phil Jackson, Steve Abbott, Mark Herman, Peter Gunn, Tara Fitzgerald, Melanie Hill, Stephen Tompkinson. Enjoy the film. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name's Ben Palmer. The screening of Brastoff with Grimethorpe Colliery Band and the Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra performing the soundtrack live to picture, led by me as conductor, was scheduled to take place on the 15th of April at the Royal Albert Hall. It would have been the show's second outing at the Albert Hall since its premiere in 2017, but sadly, like all live events at this time, it's had to be postponed. Not cancelled, but postponed. To make up for not being able to perform for you in person and to celebrate Film 4's screening of Brastoff, we wanted to offer you some musical comfort of the sort that only a brass band can provide, and to show our appreciation for the incredible work being done by those caring for our loved ones who are vulnerable or unwell. Please welcome to your screens, my dear friends, the mighty Grimethorpe Colliery Band, to play for you a specially recorded performance of Danny Boy.